It has been a goddamn fucking week. A week. Because there is one individual, and that individual is somebody who I think should be christened as an infamous contribution to the YouTube commentary section of Daily Mail videos. And this individual's name is Master Eurekas. Now, Master Eurekas is somebody who is very close to my heart, and so far as I have discovered that we have absolutely nothing in common, yet he does bring out the best in my academic and intellectual capabilities. God, I miss university. We're just going to look at our little exchange that I had with the Master regarding a Green member of the House of Lords making an ironic suggestion that men should be given a 6 p.m. curfew in the United Kingdom, and that she'd actually vote on it and really try to enact it as law. It was enjoyable for me until it wasn't, and once it wasn't, I said bye Felicia, and that was that. But yes, I thought it would be very interesting to look at that and to read it and to provide some commentary. So this was underneath a main comment that was made by an individual. All the comments on this video were typical of what you'd expect to find on a Daily Mail social media platform, which was basically, this woman's disgusting, she needs to be, put down, she needs to step down, she needs to have a mental evaluation, she's insane, oh my gosh, what's this all coming to, all that sort of absolute overreaction and hysteria. So anyway, in this comment section, I was sort of looking for a kindred spirit, somebody who may have watched the entire sitting as I did, somebody who may have, who may be a bit more, I don't know, open to the Daily Mail potentially not giving an accurate representation of events that actually happened in the real world. Who knew? I found one, so I joined in, as I felt it was my civil duty to do so. This individual is called Melancholic. They wrote in response to this comment, "This is disgusting. This woman should be forced to resign for sexist remarks. If a man had said the same thing about women, he'd be fired immediately." Melancholic wrote the following: "You literally just proved her point. Watch the whole thing." Brilliant. Brilliant. When people say less is more, there are a plethora of responses basically calling her illiterate as well. Her point was to be sexist, you absolute toaster. Ouch. Don't worry, all of us women are shocked at this sexist stupid suggestion, says this pick-me girl. What the hell is this woman thinking? Oh my goodness, a pick-me girl with terrible grammar. Who would have guessed? How dare she brand all men like criminals? We're with you guys. You know what? Fair enough. I'm being cruel by calling her a pick-me girl and saying that her grammar is terrible. Both of them, in my personal opinion, are true. But nonetheless, you do you, boo-boo. Enjoy your life. So I responded to Melancholia. Exactly. This is an example of taking a small snippet out of a larger speech and proposal. Watch the entire sitting and you'll understand what she was saying. It was not literate, it was used in a wider metaphorical sense. And I thought that was the end of it. I thought that, there would just be sort of an exchange of likes between me and Melancholic, and potentially thank you girl, live your best life. And I'd be like, ditto girl, live your best life, like ratatata. That was obviously what I think we both thought would happen, based on her response. I assume it's a her. I don't want to assume things, but nonetheless, I'll assume it's a her. I know, and finally someone's sane. And you see, this is what I like. I like how there is some respect. There's mutual respect there, which I appreciate, which makes me completely overlook the grammatical error. Completely overlook, it doesn't matter, if somebody's nice to you, grammar doesn't matter in public. I think it's just a few mental cases, and definitely not all women. Crazy times. Thank you so much for calling me a mental case. Very much appreciated. My therapist tells me this every single day. Then suddenly, out of the blue, somebody writes directly to me. I get quite excited when this happens on YouTube because I only discovered it recently as I started to sort of get into actually writing comments and realizing that people can respond to you directly and that you can have very lengthy, unrestricted, word counted conversations with people. And I love it because I go on, I talk for ages. You know, when a man tells me to keep silent and to be quiet, I respect him for saying that. I got a reply from yours truly, Master Eurekas, and he writes to me personally 5 days ago. Police advise women not to be out alone after dark, but they don't advise men, even though men are 3 times more likely to be assaulted. Why do you think they do that? Question mark. And so obviously everybody agrees with him, you know, bros sticking it to, you know, a crazy ass feminist. So anyway, I reply, you have yet again literally proved at Melancholic's original point. You've picked out a little fragment of the entire information and gone with it. This 2018 data that you have so thoroughly referred to shows that yes, men are 3 times more likely to be victims of assault. However, it is important to contextualize this. The vast majority of these male victims are hospitalized because of physical or knife violence perpetrated by male strangers. Over 60% of men hospitalized because of assault were involved in a brawl, a physical fight between strangers, and sustained their injuries in a public place. Family members and friends were the least likely to assault men when it came to these altercations that resulted in their hospitalization. Also, this was almost exclusively found to be the case with men aged 15 to 24, victims of violence and perpetrators alike, and is notably when men's testosterone levels are at their peak. This is terrible for victims and should definitely be taken far more seriously than it is. However, the picture for women is sadly far more bleak. When men are hospitalized due to assault, the perpetrators are almost always male strangers. However, when women are hospitalized due to assault, the perpetrators are almost exclusively their male partner or spouse. This also shows why men are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized compared to women. The fact that male-on-male violence typically happens in public settings and is perpetrated by strangers means that there are not only witnesses who will call for help, but also no personal attachments between the perpetrator and victim, making it easier and more socially acceptable for the victim to seek medical attention. The majority of women who are victims of domestic abuse do not seek medical attention, whether that be physical or psychological help, because of the stigma, having so much to lose, dependence on their partner, and because there are no witnesses. Domestic violence is also typically a form of long-term and multifaceted violence that is cruel and dehumanizing. The kind of violence that typically gets men hospitalized is due to a one-off short-term incident, is not multifaceted in nature but purely physical, and is generally merely in the moment when adrenaline is high, or where the objective is not to dehumanize the person in as much as it is to mug them, humiliate them in front of others, etc. So yes, you are right. Men are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized for assault. But afterwards, they can 99% of the time go home, feel safe, and be taken care of. Women, on the other hand, are less likely to be hospitalized for assault because getting medical attention is made relatively inaccessible to them because of the reasons I listed above. After going to the hospital, they don't return to a safe home where they are looked after and cared for. They would return to more violence. Statistics on hospitalization also doesn't correlate to the number of actual victims. The fact that the majority of domestic abuse victims do not seek medical attention or hospitalization is telling. Read a book, not a chapter. That was cute. That was good. I like that. Okay. And then about an hour ago, I got a reply from my new friend, Master Eurekas. And he says, so, men commit most of the violent crimes. What does that have to do with her sexist law? I thought we'd moved past that and we were talking about something broader, but clearly when you realise that you have, I guess, well, I wasn't really looking to win the argument in as much as to just make a point. The point being that things mustn't be taken out of context, which was what Master Eurekas had done. He'd taken completely out of context that data and that information, which I'm very familiar with and well versed in, coincidentally, which is why I wrote such a bomb-ass response to it. Nonetheless, he took merely what he wanted to take from that information without actually looking at the context in which that information was discovered and all the complex, multiple factors which influence it. To take this completely out of context is exactly what was done in this original video. It was completely taken out of context and everybody just went with it and went haywire. The police force and army are mostly men, the ones supposed to protect women from attackers in the first place. Indeed, the man who committed this crime was a police officer. By that logic, should we put a 6 p.m. curfew in all police officers, men and women, since it was the police who committed this crime? I get what he's saying, but it in no way relates to what I've just said in response to the question that he put to me. So I don't understand where this is coming from, because I've in no way made reference to this and in no way believed that we were having a conversation about this, yet he seems to be trying to win an argument that only he knows about. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I mean, it's not my logic that you just put forward to me. That's purely your logic and your rewriting of that typical thing that men like to say. So what you're saying is, that is exactly what this is. So where do we go from here? Women are 3 times less likely to be assaulted than men. How is that more bleak? That's a massive improvement. That's a massive improvement. See, this is exactly my point. He obviously did not read what I wrote. Obviously, it's so obvious. If anything, it merely shows just how bleak things are for men. They are assaulted at 3 times the rate and no one cares. Clearly we need a men's rights movement. If women lack the character to, in the first instance, accurately judge character of the men they involve themselves with, second, to draw boundaries early on and leave as soon as they are breached, and third, to report their aggressors to the police, then there is nothing the police can do. There is a lack of character and wisdom in general in society, but we all know exactly what he means. You sexist bastard. This is, for instance, a man who thinks that he is a good guy. He's one of the good guys and mustn't be branded with the unsafe, dangerous, terrible bad guys. This is literally the problem. A lot of men seem to have this misconception that somehow them, personally, being good guys, somehow makes them not responsible in any way. And I'm not trying to play a blame game or anything. I think that there is definitely an inherent and very real flaw and problem in this sort of mentality, because this man has clearly, as you'll see further on, says that he's on my side. Basically, that he's, a good guy. Yet he's just told me that women, presumably including myself, considering I have boobs and a vagina, we lack character to make good judgments and character assessments of men, and that we also lack wisdom in general. I mean, wow. To have any hope of fixing that, you just instruct philosophy at high school age at a minimum, and then wait 20 years and see if it has an impact. If the problem comes from women lacking the wisdom to use the legal protections they already have, then passing new ones will not have any impact.
If the problem comes from women lacking the wisdom to use the legal protections they have no impact on them whatsoever.
I know full well the evils of domestic violence. I have had more than one woman do it against me. I did not report these instances. I am a man, I would not be taken seriously, but I did at least learn how to draw boundaries, how to enforce them, and to develop a detached way of handling relationships, this allowing me to enforce my boundaries efficiently. Right, so he's basically telling me to learn from him, and that women should learn from him, because even though he didn't use the resources of going to the police, which demonstrates his lack of wisdom to use the legal protections that men already have, he nonetheless exhibits an important thing which he identified, which is character. And I should learn from that, as should every woman who is a victim of domestic abuse and violence. The 137 women who have been killed by their male loved one or male partner, the reason why they were killed is because they ultimately lacked character and wisdom. Say it loud and say it proud. The 22 women in Russia killed every single day by a male partner lacked mere wisdom and character. Domestic violence is not something only committed by one gender. The worst thing a man has done to me, got punched in the face once, physical wounds heal. But when women commit domestic violence, they make sure it has a psychological edge. Those wounds don't heal. Women are far more evil than men when it comes to domestic violence. Yes, the mortality rate shows that. Should we put a 6 p.m. curfew against women then? Safe? Are you insane? You are never safe, anywhere, anytime. Never forget that fact. Always be on guard, always be vigilant. I'm a big guy, I could mostly handle myself. I never lower my guard. A woman should be even more vigilant. This is merely human nature. There will always be bad people. Be aware of that and be ready as best as you can be. And if home has gotten so bad, then she must go to the police and press charges. If women choose not to use them, that is not the fault of government, and short of educating the overall population to be wiser, something that they can do nothing about. I have read several books on the subject. Again, he took my ironic comment literally and just proved my point. I have read several books on this subject. Start with Stanley Milgram's Obedience to Authority. Then read Philip Zimbardo's The Lucifer Effect. Then read Hitler's Compromises, Coercion and Consensus in Nazi Germany. Can't remember the author of that one. Once you have read those books and understand evil better, then you may criticize my knowledge base. I mean, I had a lot to say about that, but I said the following. I am genuinely sorry that you were a victim of domestic violence. As I said, violence against men needs to be taken seriously, and it is terrible how it oftentimes isn't taken seriously. Clearly, we're not getting anywhere here. Have a nice life, good luck to you at whatever you do, and goodbye. Handshake emoji. So that's what I said because, keeping up appearances.